This drama is about the animosity between two women, Kanika and her husband's mistress Ornapa, and how it continues to affect the subsequent generation. The resentment they hold towards each other is passed down to their respective daughters Tontawan and Ornzalao. Maitini King Payam. As Tontawan Butsababan. Tawan. Vice President of a major property development company. She holds the position of vice president in her ex-husband's company and is involved in a secret affair with Warakorn, a young and capable employee of the company who turns out to be the son of her adversary who is also her stepsister. Initially, when she learns about Warakorn's real identity, she is furious, but upon noticing his sincerity towards her, she decides to continue their relationship. At home and away from the office, she faces the challenge of having to deal with her good-for-nothing husband, Warud, her wayward daughter, Iris, as well as providing support to her mother and handling their adversaries, the family of her late father's mistress, Ornapa, and daughter, Ornzalao. She cares little for her daughter, Iris, and entrusts the task of looking after Iris to her son, Nongsi, instead. While she and her mother devise plans against Ornapa and Ornzalao, they soon find themselves having to face retaliations from them. Her patience and tolerance towards Warud reach a breaking point, after he physically assaults her in the midst of an heated argument. In mutual agreement with Warud, she eventually consents to an uneven division of her wealth and agrees to a divorce. Just when she is relieved and happy, finally able to free herself from Warud and looking forward to the prospect of openly dating Warakorn, she faces a bombshell as Warakorn not only abruptly expresses his wish to break up with her but also confesses that he is dating her daughter Mintra. Having had her emotions betrayed by Warakorn, her affection for him turns into distrust. She vehemently opposes Mintra dating him, but Mintra is steadfast in her belief that Warakorn genuinely loves her. When Warakorn asks for her consent to marry Mintra, she surprisingly grants her approval but demands a steep dowry as a condition. Anticipating that Warakorn won't be able to meet her requirement due to his family's financial difficulties, she believes that his marriage to Mintra will not come to fruition. Her relationship with her daughter Mintra suffers a setback when her past relationship with Warakorn is exposed. Mintra is unable to accept the fact that her mother has slept with the man she is about to marry. Meanwhile, it's not until unfortunate incidents befall her other daughter, Iris, and son, Nongsi, that she recognizes she has been overly strict and neglectful of their needs all this time. She eventually reconciles with Mintra when she opens up to her daughter, admitting that falling in love with Warakorn was a mistake. She acknowledges that she had fallen into his trap and realizes that he had done the same to Mintra. She, however, believes that Warakorn had been coerced into doing so by her mother. Together with Mintra and her mother, they cleverly devise plans against Ornzalao and Ornapa, even going to the extent of collaborating with Warud. Along the way, they uncover more shocking truths about the duo. Even though she eventually gains the upper hand over Ornzalao, she comes to the realization that her feelings are even worse than they were when she was losing to her. Runegreet McIntosh. Willie. As Warud. Husband of Tontawan. He is Tawan's good-for-nothing husband, who does not work and depends on his wife for sustenance. Additionally, he is an avid gambler, frequently accumulating debts and turning to Tawan and her ex-husband, Chiwin, for money. As a result of his behavior, he is disliked and disrespected by everyone in the family, but he is undeterred by how they see him and continues to live his carefree and gambling lifestyle. Following his unsuccessful attempt to borrow money from Chiwin to pay his gambling debts, he hires someone to manipulate Chiwin's feelings and extract money from him through extortion. Despite knowing that his wife Tawan is having an affair with Warakorn, he feels indifferent and shows no signs of jealousy at all. In addition to that, he also collaborates with Ornzalao, with whom he had an affair when they were young, to set up a trap and catch his wife Tawan red-handed with Warakorn, all in exchange for money. After a heated argument with Tawan, he proposes that they divorce, with him receiving a disproportionately larger share of her wealth, which Tawan willingly accepts. Having squandered all the money he receives from Tawan following their divorce to gambling, and even depleting his share of funds while colluding with Ornzalao against Tawan's family, he is delighted when Tawan offers to give him a substantial amount of money in exchange for his collaboration. Utilizing his connection with Ornzalao, he tries to deceive her into selling her house to Tawan as per Tawan's request, but due to his notorious reputation, he finds himself having problems convincing her to do so. He eventually comes to the realization that no one is able to help him now and decides to flee to the neighboring country. Before doing so, he reconciles with his children, Iris and Nongsi, and makes another attempt to extort money from Chiwin. Sarun Chana. Ahizama Munkal. As Mintra. Tawan's daughter. She is Tawan's daughter from her first marriage to Chi-win, who holds a senior position in her father's company and also one of the company's shareholders. While at work, she often experiences frustration due to her mother's tendency to not support her side, instead favoring her subordinate, Warakorn. This situation has led her to believe that her mother fails to recognize her capabilities, refusing to accept that Warakorn is indeed more experienced and capable than she is. However, even though she feels envious of Warakorn, she doesn't hold any ill feelings towards him. Instead, their relationship is often filled with teasing and bickering. Prompted by office gossip hinting at a potentially deeper relationship between her mother, Tawan, and Warakorn, she becomes suspicious and endeavors to uncover the truth about their relationship. Nevertheless, as they collaborate closely on a project together, Warakorn and her start to see each other differently, leading to her unknowingly developing feelings for him. When Warakorn resigns from the company, she begins to miss him, and it is then that she comes to the realization that she has fallen in love with him. Unable to restrain herself before Warakorn leaves for good, she expresses her love to him and begins to date him openly. Her decision to date Warakorn angers her mother Tawan, who cautions her that Warakorn might not be as dependable a man as she believes, but she remains steadfast in her belief that Warakorn genuinely loves her. To prove to her family that she and Tawan are genuinely in love, they decide to get married despite knowing that they will face strong objections from both their mothers. On the day where Warakorn proposes to her publicly, which is supposed to be a joyous moment for her, the situation takes a dark turn when her mother's past affair with Warakorn is exposed. This revelation fills her with anger towards both of them. However, upon realizing that she and Tawan are both victims of Warakorn's family's revenge plot, she joins her mother and grandmother in viewing Warakorn family as enemies, and vows to seek vengeance against them. Initially, she vows not only to seek revenge against Warakorn's family but also against Warakorn himself. However, she receives advice from her mother against pursuing this course of action, as Warakorn's past actions were a result of being coerced by his mother. Despite Warakorn's persistence in seeking her forgiveness and acceptance of him once more, she remains resolute in her decision not to do so, as she is still unable to accept what he has done to her family. It is only when Warakorn is shot while protecting her from an assailant that she starts to soften her stance, and her anger towards him gradually fades. However, she still harbors doubts about him. To demonstrate his sincerity, she presents Warakorn with a choice between her or protecting his mother and grandmother. Parawat Sangpatirat. Christ. As Warakorn, Tawan's colleague, head of marketing department. Having proven to be a capable staff in Chi-win's company, he is highly regarded and favored by both Chi-win and Tawan, often at the expense of Tawan's daughter Mintra, who lacks experience and knowledge. Despite Mintra being his superior, he regularly offers her guidance. Their interactions often devolve into playful teasing due to Mintra's hesitance in acknowledging her own shortcomings. He falls in love with Mintra's mother Tawan, who has always been supportive of him in the office, and expresses his feelings to her, and they agree to maintain a discreet relationship outside the office and a professional one while at work. While collaborating closely on a project, his connection with Mintra deepens, eventually leading them to change their unfavorable perceptions of one another. Unbeknownst to Tawan, their love is part of his mother's revenge plan against her. While Tawan grapples with stress from her husband Ward, he seduces her, only to invite her husband to catch her in the act red-handed. Following the completion of his task, he informs his mother that he no longer wants to be part of her conflict with Tawan and chooses to subtly express his feelings for Mintra. Simultaneously, he expresses his intention to break up with Tawan, which ultimately leading to his dismissal from the company. In an effort to demonstrate his sincerity to Mintra, he assures her that he won't back his mother's malicious intentions towards Mintra's family. Instead, he pledges to intervene and prevent such actions. Anticipating a strong objection from his mother when he informs her about his intention to marry Mintra, he is taken aback by her surprisingly easy approval. This unexpected reaction leads him to doubt his mother, suspecting that she might have ulterior motives up her sleeve. When his previous involvement with Tawan is exposed, he attempts to seek forgiveness from Mintra. However, she has lost faith in him, convinced that he has manipulated her and her mother's emotions as part of his family's revenge scheme. Despite this, he persists in attempting to seek her forgiveness because he genuinely loves her and believes that she still feels the same way too. Eventually, when Mintra's anger begins to fade, in order to prove his sincerity towards her, she asks him to choose between standing on her side or his mother's and grandmother's side, who are on the run after committing crimes. Realizing that his mother and grandmother cannot remain on the run forever, he asks them to surrender themselves, which leads to him harshly reprimanded by his grandmother. Sonia Cooling as Orn Zalao. Tan Tawan's stepsister, Warakorn's mother. She is Tawan's stepsister, and their long-standing animosity with Tawan's family stems from their late father's will, which left little inheritance to them. Together with her mother, they vow to reclaim the wealth that they believe is rightfully theirs from Tawan's family. She pretends to be furious when she learns that her son Warakorn works at Tawan's company and insists that he quit his job immediately. She proposes to her foreign friend, Michael, to invest in Tawan's family-troubled company. Acting on behalf of Michael, she orchestrates a complete revamp of the company and even changes its name, leaving Tawan's mother Kanika, who used to run it, infuriated. Nonetheless, her subsequent attempt to oust Kanika from her own company proves futile as Kanika exposes her plot. At the same time, her anger flares when she discovers that her son Warakorn is in a relationship with Mintra, the daughter of Tawan. However, her objection is swiftly met with a stern response from Warakorn, who asserts that his love for Mintra is sincere and that he no longer wishes to be involved in her scheme against Mintra's family. However, the situation takes an unexpected turn when Warakorn informs her of his intention to marry Mintra, and she surprisingly grants her consent. This decision comes as a result of her recognizing her inability to dissuade her son from his marriage plan. In response, with an idea and assistance from Tawan's ex-husband Warut, she devises a plan to thwart the marriage on her own way. Meanwhile, she finds herself in dire financial straits, on the brink of losing her house due to her inability to make mortgage payments. Confronted with these financial challenges, she is forced to trade her body for money with Chai, a casino owner introduced to her by Warut. However, due to an unexpected situation, her plan comes to an abrupt end before she can earn enough money to solve her financial woes. Out of desperation, she sets her sights on a new target, a wealthy hospital owner who seems to take an interest in her. The prospect of marrying him fills her with delight, as she believes it will finally bring an end to her financial troubles. Thuangdao Jirajinda as Kanika, Tan Tawan's mother. Her enduring resentment towards her late husband's mistress Ornapa, fueled by intense jealousy and the belief that Ornapa had stolen her husband, has persisted to this day. While within her family, she despises her useless, gambler, son-in-law Warut and frequently brings up and holds her daughter Tawan responsible for marrying Warut without her consent, following her divorce from her ex-husband Chiwin. Her intense dislike of Warut likewise results in her displaying no concern for his children, Iris and Nongxi, which stands in contrast to her adoration for her other grandchild, Mintra. The flower plantation business owned by her family, which she took over after her husband's passing, is currently facing financial challenges. She's actively seeking a new investor in a desperate attempt to rescue it. She feels happy and relieved when a foreigner, Michael, shows interest in investing in her company. However, upon signing the deal, she is shocked to discover that Michael's partner is none other than her arch-enemy Ornapa's daughter, Orn Zalao, and she knows right away that they will cause trouble for her company. Like her daughter, Tawan, she only realizes that she hasn't been treating her grandchildren, especially Nongxi, as she should when tragedies strike. Additionally, her attempt to persuade her wayward granddaughter who is staying on her own to return home, not only fails but worsen the situation due to her stern tone when talking to her. Eventually, despite triumphing over her longtime adversary, Ornapa, and daughter, Orn Zalao, she feels saddened because the outcome is not what she had hoped it would be. Dian Term Salitul as Tuk, Orn Zalao's mother. Since her youth, she has held deep-seated animosity towards Kanika, the spouse of her deceased partner. Her profound resentment and jealousy toward Kanika arise not only due to Kanika inheriting the majority of his wealth, but also because Kanika carried out forced abortion on her when she was expecting her second child. She and her daughter, Orn Zalao, have vowed to seek revenge against Kanika for the ordeal they have endured in the past. When she and daughter face the possibility of losing her house due to missed mortgage payments, she urges Orn Zalao to trade her body in exchange for fast money like what she has done in the past. At their lowest point, when Orn Zalao wishes to put an end to their revenge against Kanika's family, she insists that they should not back down. Ahapanfun Sahwat Gun as Nongxi, Tan Tawan's son. He is Tawan's obedient and introverted son who is a man of few works. He works as a trainee in the same company as his mother and stepsister Mintra. He has been entrusted by his mother the task of supervising his wayward sister Iris, with whom he maintains a strong rapport. As a result, he becomes accountable whenever Iris stirs up problems with their mother. He frequently endeavors to please his mother through little gestures, but his attempts are not only dismissed but also met with her insulting him for being useless. Despite being poorly treated by Tawan, he has never answered her back and chooses to endure it in silence. In the family, no one is concerned about his feelings except for his great-aunt, Grandma Chor, with whom he is closest. Eventually, unable to endure the stress any longer, he suffers from depression and turns to drugs. It is only then that his mother Tawan and grandmother Kanika realizes they have been neglecting him and his feelings, and they make a promise to be more attentive to him in the future. Wanwimol Janasahamayadi. As Iris, Tawan's daughter. She and her brother Nongsi are Tawan's children fathered by existing husband, Warud. Unlike her brother who is obedient to their mother, her relationship with Tawan is strained because she believes Tawan doesn't care about her. Her penchant for clubbing frequently places her brother Nongsi in uncomfortable positions, especially when she requests him to lie to Tawan about it. She meets Wek, a new singer in the club that she frequents, and begins to flirt with him, but unbeknownst to her, Wek happens to be the son of her mother's enemy, Ornzalao. When her mother and grandmother object to a relationship, following an heated argument with them, she decides to elope with Wek. She cohabits with Wek and enjoys her carefree lives, which is filled with leisure, shopping and drug upon leaving her home. However, her lifestyle and relationship begins to take a toll when Wek insists her to cut down on her expenditure because they are running out of money. In order to maintain her lifestyle, she begins to look for a high-paying yet undemanding job and eventually ends up, unknowingly, working with a drug lord, Chai. Because of her naivety and greed, she steals Chai's drugs, which ultimately results in her capture by Chai. Despite eventually being released with the help from Wek and her brother Nan, she remains unremorseful and places the blame for her ordeal squarely on her family. Mistaking that her mother and grandmother, who were unaware of her captivity, did not show concern about her, she feels terribly upset with them and wants to distance herself further from them. She is steadfast in her decision not to return home when her mother, Tawan, and grandmother, Kanika, visit her to persuade her to do so. She asserts that despite living a much harder life on her own, she is happier because she is free from her dysfunctional family at home. Patchada Jangan. Fiat. As Warwick, Ornzalao's son. Following his release from a correctional center, he works as a singer in a club. His relationship with his mother Ornzalao is strained as she often berates him unjustifiably, leaving no room for his explanation, and has even been chased out of the house. Every time he gets into a heated argument with his mother, he is consoled by his grandmother, who often takes his side. He meets a girl, Iris, at the club where he works, and at her initiative, they begin to date shortly thereafter. Due to his family's rejection of his relationship with Iris, in addition to receiving no love from his mother, he and Iris decide to elope and live on their own. Being a responsible boyfriend and a singer, he makes every effort to take on as many gigs as he can to provide for both of them. He takes good care of Iris, who doesn't work, and tries to tolerate her excessive spending as much as possible. However, when they reach a point where they almost run out of funds, he suggests that she look for a job. Despite his frequent arguments with her mother, Ornzalao, in the past, he has no qualms in offering his assistance when she and his grandmother approach him for help. Pawina Chavri Sehul. As Chor. Kanika's sister, Tawan's aunt. She is Kanika's unmarried sister, known for her kind-heartedness and reasonableness, who, unlike the other members in her dysfunctional family, she remains calm in every situation and often tries to console them, especially Tawan's son, Nongsi, whom she pities for being unfairly ill-treated by Tawan. However, her calm demeanor and usual non-interference stance in the family affairs reach a breaking point when she reprimands and slaps her sister, Kanika, for persistently pressuring Nongsi, who is already struggling with depression. It is only at this juncture that she discloses Nongsi's illness, prompting both her sister and niece, Tawan, to finally take notice. Ahinan Praser Twata Nakul. As Chiwin. Win. Tawan's ex-husband, father of Mintra. His brief marriage to Tawan, which resulted in the birth of their daughter Mintra, ended amicably because of his sexual orientation. He runs a big property development company and appoints his ex-wife Tawan to be its vice president. Like Tawan, he doesn't show favoritism towards his daughter, Mintra, and frequently tends to align his opinions with those of his staff, Warakorn, rather than with Mintras. He has been lending money to Warut, Tawan's husband and a gambler, but has now decided to stop fulfilling Warut's requests by no longer lending him any more money. Despite their divorce, he and Tawan maintain a very close relationship and have no qualms about sharing their secret with each other. He encounters an enterprising young man named Nam at a bar and starts to develop a liking for him, seeing elements of his own younger self mirrored in Nam. Despite having no inclination to enter another relationship after his divorce, he confides in Tawan about his growing affection for Nam. Tawan expresses immense joy for him, as he has seemingly discovered genuine love once again. As his relationship with Nam deepens, he finds himself in trouble when a video capturing their intimate moments comes into the possession of Tawan's husband, Warut. As a result of this, he becomes a target of extortion by Warut, who demands money from him in exchange for not exposing the video to the public. The video's release could potentially damage both his personal reputation and that of his company. Having given a large sum of money to Warut, defying his common kind demeanor, he retaliates against Warut to put an end to his threats when Warut continues to demand more money from him. Chinarat Siri Fong Chow Walit, Mike. As Nam Shao. Nam. He is hired by Warut to seduce Chiwen, with the intention of extorting money from him using their intimate video. Peter Tuinstra. As Michael. He is Ornzalao's friend who invests in Kanika's troubled company. Molly's Choice Obund. As Somsok. Employee at Chiwen's company. Jarusiri Puwanai. As Prey. Employee at Chiwen's company. Aranya Pathumthong. As Prey Yao, a servant at Tawan's house. Punarisa. As a servant at Tawan's house. Kittipal Lesmani. As Chai, the drug lord whom Iris works with. Priya Loso Awan Siri. As Iris's clubbing friend. Wayne Falconer. As Palop, Ornzalao's wealthy but cyclade husband. Tanwareen Suk copies it. Golf. As Lily, hired by Tawan to get back at Warut. Maliwan Pantarak. As Shiva, jealous wife of Ornzalao's customer. Peem, Ornzalao's nosy servant who holds many damaging secrets about her boss. Nighty, targeted by Ornzalao for his wealth.